Today we shall be talking about the 2019 movie 1917, in which is obviously about World War One. So without further ado, let's get into it. So, in my opinion, then, this movie is incredible because we don't often see World War One movies being made. We always see World War Two movies being made, and there's plenty of movies based around World War Two. Schindler's List, Pianist. There's The Boy in the Striped Pajamas. We also see, I believe, Goodnight, Mr. Tom's around the war. One of the Narnia movies around the war, the Second War, that is. And we hardly see, this is the only one I've watched around World War One. So it was really cool to finally see one based around World War One and see how life was around the trenches. To see the brotherhood between the guys, like all these people that don't know each other, living in the same trench, living in the same hygienic ways, and they all have one thing in common. They all want to get back to their families as soon as they finish the war. And this is presented throughout, as we see that with some of them, they think they're going to be back by Christmas. And that is a constant theme. Like, this time next week, we'll be back with this family. That's all they're talking to each other with, because that's the only hope they've got left in them to keep them fighting, because they've got something to fight for. In this movie review, the main thing for me that I digressed through, and like previously mentioned, about this brotherhood, and that everyone from these different areas of the country came together to fight this war for one thing, and that is to protect their families and to fight for the country and fight for their futures and their families' futures in obviously future to come, I guess. And to me, this was important to represent in this movie. And they represented it in a few little sequences, and I really want to take a look at a few. As the first one I pointed out is where Schofield gets trapped under the rubble, and then it is up to Blake to help carry him out there. Carry him out. He could have left him, he could have walked out after he found out that this trap were casing them pretty quickly, and he could have left him there, but no, they stuck together. He dragged Lance Corporal Schofield out of the rubble and carried him out to safety, and even lended him his bottle to wipe his eyes because it was all covered in rubble and he couldn't see. And this little thing just shows how they work together to achieve their one goal, in which is to win this war and to do anything not to lose any people or lose anybody in this war, because 1,600 people were going to die unless they fight together and get out together. Another example of this sort of coming together as a brotherhood is when obviously Schofield is a bit like doesn't know what to do and a bit upset now that Lance Blake has unfortunately been killed by a German after thinking he was a nice guy and tried to save him, then turned his back, and then that was it. The German killed Lance Blake. Well, not killed him straight away, but stabbed him, which caused his death. And then after this, after hovering over his body and carrying him over with help with the nearby army, which were just around, luckily, with a tree falling over on the road, he then hitches a ride with them as the main guy there, which is Mark Strong's character, helps him out by saying, we're going the exact same way, we can take you there. And on this journey, that is a bit of a brotherhood right there. But the best part in this movie for me, and the meat on the bone, is where we see that the truck obviously slows down and they're wondering what's happened, and it's because they get stuck in mud. So obviously Schofield's got a big job to do, and he's just quiet because he's just lost his friend, and now he needs to get this squadron helping him out, and this group of lads helping him out to really, and he looks like he's a fussy boss and telling him what to do, and these people he's never met, but they obviously realise, oh shit, we need to help him out here, because soldiers stick by each other. And that's what this showed, as they all helped push this big ass truck out of the mud. It took a few attempts, but it was like everyone gets their back into it. Because at first they're not really asked. They're just a bit like, oh yeah, we'll help you out, and then a little bit of push here. Oh, it's not moving. Right, we'll dig it out, whatever. Because he doesn't have much time to stop this attack. He's like, come on, we're pushing this, and then manages to do it in the end. And obviously he then has the conversation with them in the van afterwards, and explains the reasoning why he had to rush everybody along. And from this, you could see the looks on each other's faces, like, right, we stick together and whatever, and then they wish him good luck afterwards, in which shows that these people didn't know who he were, but this brotherhood is amplified throughout this incredible movie, and it's showcased plenty of times all the way through. There's many other examples, and we could go on forever talking about this little thing, in which is actually a big thing in the World War One, in which is the brotherhood of the men fighting on one cause, and that is to save the country that they're fighting for, and to protect the people that they love. To me, I thoroughly think this is the best World War One movie I've ever watched, because I don't think I've watched any others apart from this one. But when I watched this one, and I was so excited when it got released, I was thrilled throughout of it, because it was first time I could actually see these men fighting and seeing more into World War One, because we see loads of things into World War Two, and sometimes you just think, why aren't we looking more at World War One, the one that's called the Great War, and one of the most brutal wars in history? Why aren't we taking a look at that one? Because I know World War Two is very infamous for the likes of Adolf Hitler, the concentration camps, the Blitz, Churchill, and all these other things. Big names and big things happened. But World War One's very undervalued, and that's why not many people know much about World War One, because there's less documentaries out there, there's less movies, there's less things talking about what these men had to go through. And that's why, to me, this is the best one that I've seen, and hope to watch a few more out. If anybody's got any suggestions, get down in the comments, please, because I wouldn't mind giving a few more a watch, as I'm very passionate about World War One and World War Two in that fact. I also want to quickly mention how this movie made you feel that you were in the room or in the trenches with these guys, as the camera angle felt like you was behind them, like a game sort of, where you was following them, you was seeing what they were feeling, you was actually in the room with them, and you felt the emotions when Blake died. You certainly felt like you were in the room, and you're just following Blake, and you're following Schofield around, and it was amazing to follow this journey. There were only a few times where you weren't following them, and it felt like a movie again, but most of the time you was with them, especially with the trenches, and when he was running through the trenches, stop the battalion attacking, you could feel that you were there, and not many movies can do that, especially not war movies in that fact. I also want to give a big shout out to the actors that played Blake and the actor that played Schofield, as Charles Chapman and George MacKay were really good in my opinion, and nobody could replace them. They played their roles very well, and they played the roles of soldiers very well, and I thought that they really showed the brotherhood side of things. They really helped show, they had a really good chemistry. They showed each other how good they were as actors, and I'm surprised that they haven't been in a lot more things recently, as in this movie they showcase that acting talents as soldiers, in my opinion. Not just them, they were incredible, don't get me wrong, but then you had the likes of Daniel Mays, Mark Strong, Andrew Scott, Adrian Scarborough, Richard Madden, and Colin Firth in this movie, in which is shitloads of talent, and they just played mediocre roles. Don't get me wrong, those mediocre roles felt like the missing jigsaw pieces in this movie, and they helped the movie flow. And these two actors, even though compared to the likes of Colin Firth and the likes of even Mark Strong, you're just thinking that they're quite weak in comparison. However, you know who the main cast is. You know who the main guys are, who the focus is around this movie. But you still respect Mark Strong being a bit part, and Richard Madden being a bit part, and the likes of Colin Firth being a bit part, as they play a crucial role in the movie by setting up their missions and following their leads and everything like that. But they just added that glamour to this movie, in which I really enjoyed, as a bit of experience in there with these young lads must have been great to see for them, and must have helped them quite a lot with their acting. To summarise this movie then, this is one, or if not the best World War I movies ever made. I haven't watched many, so I can only go off what I've watched, and this is the best one I've seen. So this is the reason why I've rated this movie a 7.8 and a world-class film. Let me know down in the comments down below whether you agree or disagree with anything I've said in this video. Also, give your opinions, your ratings. I want to hear it all down in the comments down below, please. Also, if you haven't already, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell to be alerted to all the new content this channel creates. And I just want to say, if you haven't already, check out the description for more videos of this channel, and go out and check out the channel itself, as there's shitloads of videos for you to take your time out and go and check one of those out. Anyways, I'm off in a bit.